You know, I've spent a lifetime studying success. What makes some people rise while others fall? What separates the extraordinary from the ordinary? And time and again, I've come back to one fundamental truth: discipline is everything. Now, I don't say this lightly. When I talk about discipline being everything, I mean it quite literally. It's the foundation upon which all achievement is built. It's the bridge between dreams and accomplishment. It's the difference between wishing and having. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to consistently get what they want out of life while others remain stuck? Same 24 hours in a day, same opportunities available, same country, same economy, yet drastically different results. Why is that? I'll tell you why. Discipline. That's the great separator. You see, discipline is the ability to make yourself do what you should do when you should do it, whether you feel like it or not. That's the key phrase right there, whether you feel like it or not. Most people let their emotions dictate their actions. The disciplined person lets their commitments dictate their actions. And that, my friends, makes all the difference, makes a little difference in the world. Now, I'm not here to impress you with clever words or fancy theories. I'm here to share with you the simple, proven principles that can transform your life if you'll apply them. So let's talk about how to master discipline, because once you master discipline, you can master anything else. First, understand that discipline begins with a decision. A decision that enough is enough. A decision that mediocrity is no longer acceptable. A decision that you deserve more from your life and you're willing to do what it takes to get it. You know what amazes me? How quickly people give up on their dreams. They try something once, maybe twice, and if it doesn't work out, they quit. Well, I tried. No, you didn't try. You dabbled. There's a big difference. Trying means persisting until you succeed. It means falling down 7 times and getting up 8. It means continuing long after the emotion of the moment has passed and only your commitment remains. The question isn't whether you can do something once. The question is whether you can do it consistently, day after day, week after week, year after year. That's discipline. Let me tell you about 2 types of pain. There's the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. You choose what you prefer. You know, we often avoid discipline because it's uncomfortable in the moment. We don't feel like getting up early. We don't feel like studying. We don't feel like saving money instead of spending it. We don't feel like having that difficult conversation. So we put it off, and what happens? The problems compound. The opportunities pass us by, and we're left with a much heavier pain of regret. I learned a long time ago that you can't change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. And that's what discipline allows you to do, change your direction, which, given enough time, will change your destination. Now, here's something important. Discipline is not punishment. It's not about depriving yourself or making yourself miserable. That's a common misconception. In reality, discipline is the pathway to freedom. Think about it. The person who has the discipline to save money has the freedom to make choices later that the spendthrift cannot. The person who has the discipline to maintain their health has freedoms that the neglectful person will never know. The person who has the discipline to continuously learn and grow has opportunities that remain closed to others. True discipline isn't about restriction, it's about liberation. It's about building the life you want rather than accepting the life you have. Let me tell you what I've discovered. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a year, and they underestimate what they can achieve in a decade. Discipline is about playing the long game. It's about understanding that the small actions you take today, repeated over time, create your tomorrow. That's why it's so critical to master the art of showing up day after day after day. When you're tired, when you're discouraged, when the results aren't coming as quickly as you'd like. That's when discipline matters most. You see, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. And failure is simply a few errors in judgment repeated every day. It's the accumulation, the compound effect. That's what makes the difference. I remember talking with a young man once who told me he wanted to be successful. I asked him, "Are you willing to work harder on yourself than you do on your job?" He looked puzzled. I explained that success is not something you pursue. Success is something you attract by the person you become. And who you become is determined by the choices you make and the actions you take each day. In other words, it's determined by your discipline. Now, how do we develop this discipline? Because let's be honest, if it were easy, everyone would have it. I believe there are several key principles to mastering discipline, and I'd like to share them with you. The first principle is to have a compelling reason why. You need a purpose strong enough to pull you forward when willpower alone isn't enough. When your why is strong enough, the how becomes easier. I've never seen anyone consistently apply discipline to an area of their life they weren't passionate about. Find your driving force. What moves you? What matters so much that you're willing to endure short-term discomfort for long-term gain? Maybe it's providing a better life for your family. Maybe it's making a difference in your community. Maybe it's proving to yourself that you have what it takes. Whatever it is, identify it, clarify it, and keep it in front of you. The second principle is to start small. Don't try to change everything at once. That's a recipe for failure. Instead, focus on developing one disciplined habit at a time. I often suggest beginning with what I call the slight edge. Make a small improvement each day. Just 1% better. That's all. It seems insignificant in the moment, but over time it creates dramatic results. If you improve just 1% each day for a year, you'd end up 37 times better, not 365% better. That's the power of compound interest applied to your personal development. The third principle is to create systems, not goals. Goals are important for providing direction, but systems are essential for making progress. What's the difference? A goal is the end result you want to achieve. A system is the process that leads to that result. Goals are about the destination. Systems are about the journey. For example, losing 30 pounds is a goal. Establishing a routine of healthy eating and regular exercise is a system. Writing a book is a goal. Writing 500 words every morning is a system. When you focus on the system rather than the goal, you reduce the role of willpower in your success. You make discipline more automatic, and that's when real change happens. The fourth principle is to manage your environment. Your environment will support your discipline or it will sabotage it. There's no middle ground. If you're trying to eat healthier but your pantry is filled with junk food, you're setting yourself up for failure. If you're trying to save money but you spend your weekends at the shopping mall, you're making discipline unnecessarily difficult. Successful people create environments that make good decisions easy and poor decisions hard. They surround themselves with people who elevate rather than downgrade their standards. They eliminate distractions that derail their focus. When you deliberately structure your environment to support your goals, you reduce the amount of discipline required to achieve them. That's working smarter, not just harder, not just harder. The fifth principle is to embrace discomfort. Comfort is the enemy of growth. If you want to develop discipline, you must be willing to do things that are uncomfortable in the short term, but beneficial in the long term. Most people spend their lives avoiding discomfort. They take the path of least resistance. And where does that path lead? To mediocrity, to unfulfilled potential, to what might have been. But when you embrace discomfort as the price of progress, everything changes. You stop seeing challenges as obstacles and start seeing them as opportunities. You develop what psychologists call grit, the perseverance and passion for long-term goals. Grit is the ability to maintain discipline not just for days or weeks, but for years. It's the quality that enables you to stay the course when others have long since abandoned their journey. The sixth principle is to focus on process, not perfection. Perfection is an illusion that paralyzes many would-be disciplined individuals. They believe that if they can't do something perfectly, they shouldn't do it all. But discipline isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about progress, not perfection. The most disciplined people I know aren't perfectionists. They're improvers. They focus on getting a little better each day, not on achieving an impossible standard of flawlessness. When you make a mistake, and you will, don't use it as an excuse to abandon your discipline. Use it as an opportunity to learn and adjust. Then get back on track immediately. The seventh principle is to connect actions to identity. This is perhaps the most powerful principle of all. Instead of saying, I want to exercise more, say, I am someone who takes care of my body. Instead of saying, I need to save money, say, I am a responsible steward of my resources. Do you see the difference? When you connect your actions to your identity, to who you are rather than just what you do, discipline becomes more natural. You're no longer just following rules, you're living in alignment with your self-image. The question changes from what do I want to do to who do I want to be? And that's a far more motivating question. Now let me tell you something important about discipline. It isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. It's showing up consistently even when the initial excitement has worn off. Most people can muster the discipline to do something difficult for a short period. They can follow a diet for a few weeks. They can save money for a specific purchase. They can work hard on a project with a deadline. But true mastery of discipline comes when you can maintain your commitment over the long haul, not just when it's convenient or exciting, but when it's difficult and mundane. That's why I believe in the power of rituals. Rituals are simply disciplined behaviors that you've practiced so often they become automatic. They don't require willpower because they're ingrained in your routine. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't debate whether to do it each morning. You don't need motivation. You just do it because it's a ritual. That's the level of automaticity you want to develop with all your key disciplines. The way to create rituals is through consistent repetition. They say it takes about 66 days on average to form a new habit. That's roughly 2 months of daily practice before a behavior becomes automatic. Most people give up long before they reach that threshold. They try something new for a week or two, don't see immediate results, and abandon it. But the disciplined person persists through this initial phase, knowing that temporary discomfort leads to long-term ease. One of the most powerful rituals you can establish is what I call a power hour, the first hour of your day dedicated to personal development. This might include reading, journaling, meditation, exercise, or planning your day. How you start your day sets the tone for everything that follows. When you begin with disciplines that nourish your mind, body, and spirit, you create momentum that carries into your other activities. Another vital ritual is regular reflection. Take time each week to review your progress, celebrate your wins, and identify areas for improvement. Discipline without direction is just busy work. Reflection ensures that your discipline is moving you toward your goals. Now, let's talk about something that few people understand about discipline. It's not a fixed trait. It's not something you either have or don't have. It's more like a muscle that can be strengthened through consistent use. When you practice discipline in one area of your life, that strength spills over into other areas. This is called the transfer effect. The discipline you develop through daily exercise, for instance, can help you become more disciplined in your finances or your work habits. That's why I often suggest starting with what I call a keystone habit, a single discipline that has positive effects across multiple areas of your life. For many people, this might be regular exercise, adequate sleep, or daily meditation. Master that one discipline first. Once it becomes a ritual, move on to the next one. Over time, you'll build a foundation of discipline that supports everything else you want to achieve. But here's a word of caution. Beware of discipline fatigue. Your willpower is a limited resource that can be depleted. If you try to make too many changes simultaneously, you're likely to exhaust your capacity for self-control and abandon all of them. That's why pacing is so important. Sustainable discipline is like a marathon, not a sprint. You need to find a pace you can maintain over the long term. Part of maintaining that pace is learning to recover. Even the most disciplined individuals need periods of rest and renewal. The key is to make these periods intentional rather than reactionary. Plan your rest, schedule your vacations, build breaks into your routine. This isn't weakness, it's strategic. It allows you to sustain your discipline over the long haul rather than burning out after a short period of intense effort. Another critical aspect of mastering discipline is understanding the role of accountability. We all have blind spots. We all have moments of weakness. Having someone who holds us accountable can make the difference between temporary commitment and lasting change. This could be a friend, a mentor, a coach, or a mastermind group. The specific form isn't as important as the function, creating external pressure to maintain your internal standards. When you know someone is watching, when you know you'll have to report your progress, you're far more likely to follow through on your commitments. That's not cheating, it's leveraging human psychology to support your success. Now let's address one of the biggest misconceptions about discipline, that it's all about willpower. While willpower certainly plays a role, relying solely on willpower is a strategy doomed to fail. Willpower is like a battery that gets depleted throughout the day. Every decision you make, every temptation you resist, drains a little more of that battery. By evening, many people find their willpower severely diminished, which explains why so many diets are broken after dinner. The solution isn't to try to increase your willpower indefinitely. It's to reduce the number of situations that require willpower in the first place. This is where automation becomes invaluable. Automate as many decisions as possible. Set up automatic transfers to your savings account rather than deciding each month how much to save. Prepare healthy meals in advance rather than deciding what to eat when you're hungry. Create templates for recurring tasks rather than reinventing the wheel each time. When you automate these decisions, you conserve your willpower for the truly important choices that can't be systematized. Another powerful strategy is what psychologists call implementation intentions, specific plans that link situational cues with desired behaviors. Instead of just saying, I'll exercise more, you say, when I wake up on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'll put on my running shoes and jog for 30 minutes before breakfast. This level of specificity eliminates the need for decision-making in the moment, which reduces the drain on your willpower. Let me share something else I've observed about highly disciplined people. They understand the power of rewards. They don't just focus on the long-term benefits of their actions, they also create short-term incentives to maintain their motivation. This might seem counterintuitive. After all, isn't discipline about delayed gratification? Yes, but that doesn't mean all gratification needs to be delayed. Strategic rewards can bridge the gap between present effort and future results. The key is to choose rewards that don't undermine your progress. If you're trying to save money, don't reward yourself with an expensive purchase. If you're trying to eat healthier, don't reward yourself with junk food. Instead, find rewards that are aligned with your goals, or at least neutral. Maybe it's an hour of guilt-free recreation, a small purchase within your budget, or simply the satisfaction of checking an item off your list. Another aspect of discipline that's often overlooked is the role of forgiveness. Yes, forgiveness, because no matter how disciplined you become, you will slip up. You will have days when you fall short of your standards. You will make mistakes. The question isn't whether this will happen, it's how you'll respond when it does. Many people use a single failure as an excuse to abandon their discipline entirely. Well, I've already blown my diet today, so I might as well eat whatever I want. But highly disciplined individuals have a different response. They acknowledge the slip, forgive themselves, and get back on track immediately. They don't let one mistake turn into a pattern. They don't allow temporary failure to become permanent defeat. This resilience, this ability to bounce back from setbacks, is a crucial component of discipline mastery. It's what separates those who make lasting changes from those who merely make attempts. Let's talk about another critical principle, the power of incremental improvement. Many people abandon their discipline because they don't see dramatic results immediately. They start a new exercise program and expect to transform their body in a week. They begin saving money and expect to be wealthy in a month. When these unrealistic expectations aren't met, they conclude that their efforts aren't working and give up. But real, sustainable progress rarely happens in dramatic spurts. It happens through consistent incremental improvements over time. Consider the concept of marginal gains popularized by Sir Dave Brailsford, who led the British cycling team to remarkable success through a strategy of 1% improvements in everything they did. None of these improvements was particularly notable on its own, but together they created extraordinary results. That's how discipline works. It's not about making radical changes overnight. It's about making small improvements consistently. It's about being a little better today than you were yesterday and a little better tomorrow than you are today. This approach is not only more effective, it's also more sustainable. Radical changes tend to trigger equally radical resistance, both from yourself and from those around you. Incremental changes fly under the radar. They don't activate the same defense mechanisms. They allow you to progress without provoking pushback. Another important principle in mastering discipline is understanding the role of your physical state. Your mind and body are intimately connected. Your physical condition significantly impacts your ability to maintain mental discipline. When you're tired, hungry, or stressed, your capacity for self-control diminishes dramatically. This isn't weakness, it's biology. Your brain requires energy to exercise discipline, and when your physical resources are depleted, your mental faculties suffer. That's why basic self-care, adequate sleep, proper nutrition, regular exercise, stress management isn't separate from discipline. It's foundational to it. When you neglect these basics, you're trying to build discipline on a shaky foundation. I've seen many people fail to achieve their goals not because they lack determination, but because they tried to use willpower to overcome physical limitations that should have been addressed directly. Don't make that mistake. Take care of your body and your mind will be better equipped to maintain the discipline you need. Now, let's address one of the most common obstacles to discipline, the fear of missing out, or FOMO as it's often called today. This is the anxiety that others are having, rewarding experiences that you're not part of, and it can be a powerful discipline destroyer. When you see friends enjoying indulgences that you've chosen to forego, when you observe others taking the easy path while you're doing the difficult work of discipline, it's natural to question your choices. Am I being too hard on myself? Am I missing out on life's pleasures? But here's what you need to understand. The people who appear to be enjoying freedom from discipline today will often envy your results tomorrow. While they're concerned about missing out on immediate pleasures, they're actually missing out on something far more valuable, the long-term benefits of disciplined living. The person who can't say no to daily indulgences misses out on the satisfaction of achievement. The person who can't delay gratification misses out on the compound returns of consistent investment. The person who can't push through discomfort misses out on the joy of growth and mastery. True discipline isn't about missing out. It's about choosing what you want most over what you want now. It's about trading lesser pleasures for greater ones. Another challenge to discipline is what I call decision fatigue. Every decision you make throughout the day depletes your mental energy, making subsequent decisions more difficult. By the end of a day filled with choices, your ability to make disciplined decisions is significantly compromised. That's why it's so important to minimize trivial decisions and establish routines for recurring activities. When you don't have to decide what to eat for breakfast each morning, what to wear to work, or when to exercise, you conserve mental energy for more important decisions. Look at some of the most disciplined and successful people in the world, from Steve Jobs with his iconic black turtleneck to Warren Buffett with his consistent daily schedule. They understand that routine isn't boring, it's liberating. It frees up mental bandwidth for creativity and focused work. Now, let me share a principle that might surprise you. Effective discipline often involves knowing when to quit. Yes, quit, not on your goals, but on approaches that aren't working. Many people confuse stubbornness with discipline. They persist with ineffective strategies long after it's become clear that those strategies aren't producing results. That's not discipline, it's rigidity. True discipline includes the flexibility to assess your progress objectively and adjust your approach when necessary. It means having the wisdom to recognize when a particular path isn't leading to your destination, and the courage to chart a new course. Remember, discipline is about achieving your goals, not about adhering to a particular method at all costs. Be committed to your destination, but flexible about the route. Another aspect of discipline mastery is managing your attention. In today's world, distractions are endless. Social media, email, text messages, news alerts, all competing for your limited attention. Each notification triggers a dopamine response that can pull you away from focused, disciplined work. The most disciplined individuals I know are ruthless about protecting their attention. They create environments that minimize distractions. They batch similar tasks to avoid context switching. They use tools like time blocking to ensure their most important work gets their best attention. Remember this, what you pay attention to grows. When you consistently direct your attention toward your priorities, they flourish. When you allow your attention to be fragmented by endless distractions, your priorities wither. One more principle I want to share with you is what I call discipline stacking. This is the practice of linking new disciplines to existing ones, creating a chain of behaviors that reinforce each other. For example, if you already have the discipline to exercise each morning, you might stack a new discipline like reading or meditation immediately before or after your workout. The established discipline creates momentum that makes the new one easier to implement. This approach leverages the power of habit chains where the completion of one behavior triggers the next. It's far more effective than trying to establish multiple disconnected disciplines throughout your day. Now, I've shared a lot of principles and strategies for mastering discipline, but perhaps the most important thing to understand is this: discipline is not just about what you do, it's about who you become in the process. When you practice discipline consistently, you develop not only specific skills, but also character. You build integrity, the alignment between your values and your actions. You cultivate resilience, the ability to persevere through challenges. You establish credibility, the trust that comes from consistent performance. These qualities extend far beyond any particular goal you might achieve. They become part of your identity, influencing every area of your life. And that brings me to a profound truth. The ultimate purpose of discipline is not achievement, it's transformation. Yes, discipline helps you accomplish specific objectives, but more importantly, it changes you. It makes you stronger, more capable, more confident. It expands your sense of what's possible. That's why I say discipline is everything. Not because it guarantees success, though it certainly increases your chances, but because it guarantees growth. And growth, my friends, is the essence of a fulfilling life. Let me leave you with this thought. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your choices. Every day you have countless opportunities to choose discipline over convenience, long-term benefit over immediate gratification, growth over comfort. These choices may seem small in the moment. A decision to wake up early rather than sleep in. a choice to save rather than spend, an option to do the difficult work now rather than postpone it. But accumulated over time, these small choices create dramatically different outcomes. The person you'll be 5 years from now is determined by the disciplines you practice today. That's both a sobering responsibility and an incredible opportunity. So I challenge you, start today, not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, not when you feel ready. Today. Choose one area of your life where increased discipline would make a significant difference. Apply the principles we've discussed. Take that first small step, then another, and another. Don't worry about how long it will take or how difficult it might be. Just focus on showing up consistently day after day. Trust the process. Believe in the compound effect of disciplined effort over time. Remember, discipline is not the enemy of freedom, it's the pathway to it. Discipline is not the opponent of joy, it's the foundation of it. Discipline is not something to endure until you reach your goals. It's a way of living that enriches every aspect of your existence. When you master discipline, you master life itself. You move from being a passive recipient of circumstances to an active creator of your destiny. You transform from someone who merely wishes for a better future to someone who deliberately builds it. That's the power of discipline. That's why it's everything. Now, will this journey be easy? No. Will there be days when your motivation wanes and your commitment is tested? Absolutely. Will you face resistance both from within yourself and from those around you? Without question. But I promise you this, the rewards are worth it. The person you'll become through this process of discipline mastery is worth every effort, every sacrifice, every moment of discomfort. So take that first step, make that commitment, choose discipline today and watch as it transforms your tomorrows. The choice, as always, is yours. But I believe in you. I believe you have what it takes to master discipline and through it to master your life. Thank you for your time. Now go out there and make something magnificent happen.